Time for the 10th of those 11 games I recorded during my week's free trial of the Switch Online, Rival Turf, the first game in the Rushing Beach trilogy. This is a game I'd only ever heard of thanks to its infamously bad US box art. Apart from that, I knew nothing about it. The game has two different plots depending on whether you're playing the Japanese version or not, but since I'm playing the Western version, I'll focus on this one. The game stars Jack Flack and his friend Uzi Nelson. Jack's girlfriend has been kidnapped by the Street Kings gang led by Big Al, so Jack gets Uzi's help to beat them all to death. In Japanese, it's Jack's Japanese counterpart's sister being kidnapped, because she has an important tape connected to a popular new drug that has taken over the population of the city he lives in. The kidnapping was from the organisation that made the drug. As usual with these beat 'em up videos, I'll alternate characters every level. Stage 1 takes place in a normal street where I'll be showing my Jack playthrough. Jack is the faster but weaker character. You have your basic jump and attack buttons, there's throws when walking up close to an enemy and weapons to pick up off the ground. I can run, which doesn't have its own animation, just you walking faster. I also turned on an optional angry mode, which when used as I reach low health will give me a temporary power up. As for enemies, Bullet is the basic weakest enemy that does little more than throw out the odd punch. There's also Case in the motorbike helmet, who is just a sprite edit of Bullet. Skinny is the tall one who will throw explosives when at a distance from you, but when up close will kick you with his long legs. As I progress through the stage, I get these guys jumping through gates and windows at me. There's Warrior, the big guy who tended to cause me some trouble. He'll throw out some E-Honda slaps when up close, or a Tatsumaki Senpu Kyak when at a distance. Once I take him out, the bus arrives and I get on. This is the longest bus in the universe and the fights don't end. I get away with the same Bullet, Case, Skinny and Warrior before a new guy shows up. Butch are the fat, slow guys who will uppercut you up close or try to elbow drop you at a distance. Take out the two butchers and I get off the bus outside the city stadium. The next new enemy I face out here is Goro, the guy in the karate gi. He'll fly and kick you at a distance and throw you up close. He's a deceptively tough one. He tended to sneak around while I was focusing on other enemies and deal me a devastating hit. His flying kick also counters my main strategy of staying safe by only doing jumping kicks side to side. After taking out another wave at the entrance to the stadium, we get the first boss, Genie. A huge dude with a puny fencing sword. He doesn't even use the blade, he just tried to hit me on the head with the handle. At least when I knock it out of his hands, I actually swing it like a sword. Just a shame I don't get to use it, as picking up his sword makes him lose his shit and slap me to death to get it back. So instead I tend to focus on throws, hoping to throw him into his generic backup to damage them too. Though when angry mode kicks in next and I take the sword, he doesn't get to do much else as I whack him to death, completing the stage. Stage 2 takes place inside the stadium, and we'll swap over to the Uzi Nelson playthrough. Apparently the developers at Jalico thought American police dressed like M. Bison. Uzi is the slower, more powerful one, with the strong throws. He's also got an awkward lariat for when you attack while power walking. He's not as easy to use as Jack, but I did slightly better since his playthrough came after. He's more satisfying to use though since those throws look painful. A lot of Goros here, but I also get a new enemy, Reggie, a sprite edit of Skinny. The next new enemy is Arnold, the man in the sunglasses who have a strong punch and a powerful throw. After taking out his wave, I move on to the locker rooms. Why are these guys hiding in lockers for me? How long were they there? Near the end is my next sprite edit, Kato, an edit of Goro. Fighting two of these guys and an Arnold made me very thankful for the angry mode. Once I take those guys out, I move on to the third screen, the car park. We have my first dingo in here, a sprite edit of Warrior. He's the only new enemy here and I fight off a long wave, including two dingoes at once, before the boss shows up. Sledge is a guy in a Cyclops visor with a tiny boombox. His main attack is trying to jump and then hit me on the way down with both hands. I found him easier than Genie, since he's easy to grab with lower range and doesn't have a trigger that makes him throw out a million slaps at once. The fact he gets backed up by just 2 bullets doesn't help him either. Stage 3 has me checking out a skyscraper. The first screen is just on another street though, but this one is more abandoned and run down with enemies bursting through the walls. Some clearly hate the area as they're just lazing around bored out of their minds. And I have no idea what's going on here. 2 Arnolds at once is definitely a tough combination, and after them are Louie, a sprite edit of Butch. Past him is the last new regular enemy in the game to talk about. Gigante is a sprite edit of Arnold. That makes 6 enemy types with 2 versions each. Seems very small. Take out Gigante and his wave and I get on this lift onto the next screen where I'm riding it up. But I don't get to fight on it as it takes me straight to the roof. I questioned the guy in the lockers, but who would want to hide this small tower with toxic material? I have a lot of Butchers and Louis to take care of, followed by Goro and Kato before I can move on. Past them is the boss, the ninja Slasher. Up close he'll try to smash me over the head with both hands. At a distance he'll jump on the fence and then try to dive head first into me. Despite him being the boss, it's that Goro who I'm more worried about. This was not my first attempt at recording this game, and almost all my failed recordings were foiled by Goro or Kato. Once the Goro is gone and replaced with a Butch and a Skinny, it's much easier as I can safely jump again. I mainly fight him by just throwing everyone else into him, then I get angry mode and spam throws on him while I can until he dies. A helicopter flies by and I get on board. We're going south of the border now for the next stage in the mountains. We're back to Uzi too. It's a bit hard to find things to talk about now that I've used up all the enemies. This forest especially has nothing interesting to talk about in terms of environment or background activities. They give me 3 Goros to fight at once, that's annoying. At the end of this screen I find a gap in a forest leading to a town. That town is the level's second screen. It's also in a bad state. There's one point where I have to fight a Kato, a Dingo and Gigante at once. That's the only noteworthy part before I reach the end of the screen and move on to a river. Keep fighting more of the same until I reach this boat and the boss, Captain. He has a dashing kick when you're at a distance and throws you when up close. This guy can be a pain because his attacks are so strong, but here I just abuse Uzi's elbow drop, his jump attack. It takes a long time dealing minuscule damage on a guy with so much health, but it's just the safest way to get through losing as few lives as possible. For stage 5 we're moving on to this port and we're back with Jack. I start on the dock and the same issue I had with stage 4 comes up, in that I've described all the enemies already. In terms of tough enemy groups, Kato, Arnold and Gigante. I find a grenade lying on the floor here and it doesn't even do that much damage. The last group at the end of the screen in front of this shutter is a Goro and Kato with a Reggie, then joined by a Dingo and Gigante. Just throwing all the arseholes at me at once. Inside this warehouse I have a second screen where I get the first shot at these napping Reggies. I get to use the world's biggest spanner on an Arnold. I'm trying to find something here. The screen ends on a Skinny with a load of Butchers and Louis before I exit the warehouse on the other side. I then enter an office. It's weird that the first 4 stages just have the odd knife and then suddenly I'm getting all sorts of weapons, next to this baseball bat. I fight my way to this luchador at the desk, but he just shuffles away and leaves me with an Arnold, Gigante and Louis, and a Dingo gets involved at the end. After them I go back outside again, and after a few more enemies I catch up with the luchador, the stage's boss, Iceman. At a distance he'll do a spinning kick with his ice skates. When up close he'll grab you by the head and knee your face in a few times. He's the hardest boss so far. Most of the fight is waiting for him to get dizzy from his spinning attacks so you can punish him, although more than anything else, it's angry mode that gets me the most of my damage. I get very lucky close to the end where I manage to finish him when he walks into my full regular combo twice in a row. And for the final stage we find the Street King's hideout. Back to Uzi one last time. I walk through a normal looking corridor beating up the weaker enemies until the wall opens up in the back to reveal a lab. This is probably where the drugs from the Japanese game's backstory were made. At the end of the floor, Genie returns, backed up by a warrior, and I make the same mistake with his sword, which I should know better by now considering this would be my 4th recorded fight with him. Taking him on I move on to the next floor, which is a lot more industrial. A lot of pairs of these strong enemies on this floor, pairs of warriors, pairs of dingoes, pairs of butchers. It seems we're skipping Sledge as at the end of the floor is Slasher. I'd say he's easier than he was on stage 3 because he's backed up by Warrior instead of Goro. After defeating him, I end up on another floor that looks like another office. An annoying Goro and Kato pair before I'm having a rematch with Iceman. I guess bosses of even-numbered stages are unpopular even within the gang. I don't mind if it means not having to fight Captain again. Take down Iceman and he limps off to reveal the giant hole in the wall. I have another short corridor before I reach the stairs leading to the final screen of the game. There's a Butch I can't fight as he's hyping up the leader of the Street Kings, Big Al, a huge man in a gi. He is incredibly fast, and when he gets up close he can throw you to the other side of the screen. From a distance he'll jump up and zoom at you with energy fists. I can at least use a Butch to damage him with throws while he's alive. Another move Big Al has from a distance is the ability to fire Hadokens from his mouth. Hit him enough and he'll go red for a bit where he becomes even stronger and his chi attacks become red. While Big Al is hard, I at least find him easier to get a hit on than with some earlier bosses, which is good since he has the most health. He takes a few lives from me, but Uzi has saved up enough that as long as I don't play terribly, I can outlast him. Big Al tells me that I may have wiped out his entire gang, but his will is as strong as ever, so he'll just recruit more members and try again. Then he either passes out or dies, with the implication that Jack gave him a final blow. Uzi then says that they're the coolest, and that's the end. What about Jack's girlfriend/sister? I only assume that the sequels might cover that. There really isn't much to say about Rival Turf. It's a game I regularly forgot I even recorded. The biggest issue is the lack of variety. There is such a small pool of enemies that it gets old quick, and some of them deal enough damage with certain attacks that it's frustrating. Plus, some of Uzi's throws aside, I just don't find the combat in this game very satisfying to beat people up with. Even limiting yourself to just the Super Nintendo, you have better beat-em-up options than this. I do have this game's sequel downloaded on my Wii U, so if I ever remember that this series exists, I can always check to see if it gets any more memorable. Apparently this game is getting some sort of remake or new sequel this year, so maybe I'll be reminded then. Unless we end up with another Fear Effect Reinvented situation where I bring up an upcoming remake and it gets cancelled right after the video comes out.